program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to continue to share the teachings of a founding father of the science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach, Bachelor of Science in Plant and Soil Sciences, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, 4 postdoctorates in pathology, naturopathic doctor. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to continue to share the teachings of a founding father of the science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach, Bachelor of Science in Plant and Soil Sciences, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, 4 postdoctorates in pathology, naturopathic doctor. Hello, everybody. Let's go ahead and open up that waiting room. Thank you so much for your patience. As you know, everything's going great until it doesn't. Well, it is on with the show here on Daily with Doc. My name is Becca Tukes, and as a certified holistic health coach and a certified naturopathic practitioner and the host and producer of this show, it is my honor and privilege to do whatever it takes to keep the show going. And today's conversation may challenge something that you thought you already knew. We are thrilled to welcome back to the show Dr. Judy Reynolds for a fascinating discussion titled Niacin, What's in a Name? Have you ever heard the word nicotinic acid, niacinamide, and immediately thought, wait, does that have something to do with nicotine? You are not alone. Well, today we're going to be diving into one of the most misunderstood nutrients in the vitamin world and uncover the truth about vitamin B3. Despite the name nicotinic acid and niacinamide, an immediate thought, another one of those technical things where everything just went away. So we're just going to keep on rolling. Folks, if you were invited to this program by somebody specific, make sure that you get back with them as they cared enough about you to share this program. We want to make sure that you get back with them with any questions that you may have, as they may be one of the amazing certified holistic health coaches that this program is a resource for. And if you found us on your own and you'd like to get in touch with a certified holistic health coach, you may join us or talk to one of our great certified holistic health coaches that's associated with the show by calling 855-949-3377. Well, today we're going to be exploring vitamin B3, the given names, and the difference between niacin and niacinamide, and why neither form is nicotine. So I am super excited, but we're also going to be talking about the health benefits and why they are so important. I am super excited to have with us Dr. Judy Reynolds. Dr. Judy, welcome. Thank you so much. I know you put so much work into these and want everything to be just perfect. and you do such a fantastic job. We always have people wanting to know when you're coming back. So let's go ahead and share a little bit first about you. So Dr. Judy is a doctor in, she has a doctorate in nutrition and studied primarily in horse. But folks, when you're studying nutrition, whether it's horse or humans, it's the same classes, right? Pretty much. Yeah. And then
yes,
you were you've been so instrumental in the horse world and in the formulation of horse feeds. And that study has been able to allow you to just pull right on over into the human world and keep us abreast of what our bodies really need. So, Dr. Judy, we greatly appreciate that you are bringing this topic because I know it is all over the internet. And you're going to be possibly exposing some misconceptions and misunderstandings.
Well, and that's why this topic, I think, I mean, it's been important for a long time, and I follow a lot of different people in the health space. I also follow a lot of people in other different spaces. I mean, you probably, I follow what's going on with the aliens. I follow what's going on with just about everything as far as what people are thinking. But this one is just, it seems to have grown so big, so exponentially. And, it can be a possible bad consequence. And so I've actually tried to talk to people that, that are kind of working with that theory, and I can't get them to get back to me. I've tried for actually 2 years. And that's ridiculous because, okay, one of my main philosophies is you don't interrupt a speaker on their topic on their space. You talk to them behind the scenes. You get with them, you have a discussion. I'm not going to go out and start fighting wars and battles and critiquing other people on their presentations, right? So I won't do that.
That's a professional common sense, right?
Well, exactly. And so that's what ends up happening is that then if there's no way to contact a lot of people that are out there, they may say, oh, okay, here's my email address and here's my this and that, but you can't reach them. And so, it just becomes one of those things. Well, it got to the point where I've heard people in so many different spaces that really don't have that much to do with nutrition or anything talking about using nicotine for viruses, specifically spike protein and things like that. And I know the theory, I know why it happened, I know what the whole thing is. But the issue is that it's not when things that are called nicotinic acid and nicotinamide are niacin. They're the B vitamin, the essential B vitamin, niacin. And also, the neurotransmitters in both our muscles and our nerves are called nicotinic acetylcholine receptors, or NAD for the electron transport system is nicotinic adenine dinucleotide. All these things are called nicotine, but they're not nicotine, the molecule. They're niacin. And so, that one little mistake, and it's just because if you think about it, when people discover something, they name it. A lot of times they'll name it, if it's a scientist, they'll name it after themselves. The Krebs cycle was Dr. Krebs figured out the intermediary metabolism cycle for those biochemistry nerds out there. So, and with like the black gene lies that we've talked about in the past, Dr. Wallach's book, where sickle cell anemia is called in the black population is called thalassemia in the white population because it was discovered in two places by two people and they each named it, but it's the same thing. So if you're trying to call it genetic and then you blame it on a population because of their different genetics, but then it's also happening in another population, you've made a mistake. And so anyway, mistakes happen all the time. I have to comment that when I go back and listen to these presentations, I kind of get in the zone and I'm doing my thing. And I go back and listen to them, and every once in a while, I'm thinking, I know what I was going to say, and something else just came out of my mouth. And I'm just like, what? Why did I say that? So I know people make mistakes, and I'm not trying to be a perfectionist or anything like that. But I think this got to the point where people I never would have expected are talking about getting these patches and stuff. So anyway, let's go ahead and see how the slides work. Got my fingers crossed here because I've had lots of slide issues today. But let's go ahead and see how we're doing. I gotta bring them up. And there they are. And we're just gonna ignore this again. That was the least of my worries today. So, okay. What is niacin? First of all, we got to remember that we've got to meet all of our essential needs. I spent the last 2 days doing an online version of the Equine Science Society. It was really fun. Got to see a lot of colleagues, but I had to laugh because I think 4 out of the 5 or 6 presenters are all retiring right now. And they're all talking about their 20 and 30 years of being there. And I'm thinking, wow, I was in that same group. I mean, I retired about 14 years ago, but crazy. I mean, that they're all retiring, but it's, what I'll be able to talk about this again soon. That's what I'm planning to do, is do a summary or some thoughts. They were talking about a bunch of different things that are kind of relating to what we do in nutrition. But for the most part, again, they're horse specialists. So them doing things that relate to nutrition for people, it's nice to see that that's happening, and nice to see that, people are still doing that kind of thing. But anyway, okay, we've got to meet all the essential needs. And that's what happened at that conference, is they were very, very focused on one nutrient. And we cannot do that, even though we're going to talk about niacin and all this kind of stuff. We've got to really understand that, I call it fractionated nutrition. So before we can do anything with niacin, we have to make sure that the essential needs of all the nutrients are met. And that's basically what Dr. Wallach does too, is he's just, make sure that all the needs are met. So start there. Metabolism is millions of reactions, hopefully faster because of catalysts and because of the correct nutrients. But we've got to have all those needs met. So the 90 have to be there. Let's just start there. And this is just a quote from Dr. Wallach. The methodical, science-based approach to veterinary, and I added, and animal science, formulation of animal rations decreased disease and maximized fertility, longevity, and production, such as with eggs, meat, and milk in animals versus humans. We have insurance. So unfortunately, that's what gets focused on. And we don't realize we're paying all this money for our health care. And, that's a great topic if you want to go look that up within Doc's books. Okay, and again, I've got to do this one because every nutrient, if you don't get enough, you die. If you get too much, you die. And we have this thing we call the NRC, the National Research Council, and this is the horse nutrient requirements, but then we have the same ones for people. And we've got to make sure that we're meeting these needs. And here's just a quick one. The RDA is not enough. Again, we have to have all 90 essential nutrients. This is Roger Williams. He lived from 1893 to 1988, and he wrote the Biochemical Individuality book. And he said nutrition is for real people. Statistical humans are of little interest. So nutrition is always improvable, is basically the point there. We can always do a better job. Okay, back to our vitamins. Classification of vitamins. Remember, we have 2 main compartments within the body. And the first one is the water compartments. That's the inside of the cells, the blood, the extracellular fluids, and all those things. And then we have the fat soluble, and that is the membranes around each cell. We have a fatty membrane. We also have all the nerves in the body, the brain, central nervous system, all of those things. So we are talking about the water-soluble vitamins, the ones that are in those watery compartments. And what are these like? Basically, all organisms need water-soluble vitamins. They're needed by simple and complex organizations. They contain carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. Some contain minerals, for example, cobalt and sulfur, and they're absorbed through the portal vein, which means they just go from the digestive system right to the liver. And the big thing about water-soluble vitamins is it's very tough to have them be toxic. So that's a good thing. They're needed every day. They are expelled in urine, the parts that aren't needed, or the amount that aren't needed, but you're not likely to have a toxicity from taking too many. Okay, I just mentioned most of those. We don't have a way to store them, so they're excreted every day. And another thing is they usually come and go in the same shape they started in, whereas our fats and sugars and all those things, we break them down into smaller molecules. Okay, here's where we start talking about vitamin B3 or niacin. And this is just to show you, we knew about problems with vitamins all the way back in 2697 BC. The deficiency of thiamine was understood in China, and they named it beriberi. And then scurvy, 1500 BC, 1920 pellagra, which is the niacin deficiency disease. And here you can see it was isolated from NADP, which is called nicotine adenine dinucleotide phosphate. However, that nicotine is niacin. Okay, so again, it's just terminology. Okay, and here we go into the controversial part here. The names for niacin, nicotinamide was confused with nicotine in tobacco. Nicotinamide was renamed because of this confusion, was renamed by the scholars that worked a lot on B vitamins and health. And they said, this is so confusing, let's just rename it. So they named it niacinamide instead, and nicotinic acid named it niacinic acid. So you will see those in the literature, in the newer places, you might see the actual niacinic acid. So nicotine adenine dinucleotide, again, got changed to niacinamide. NADP got changed. And here when we talk about our receptors, you have nicotinic acetylcholine receptors, and they are niacinic, really, not nicotinic. Okay, so here's the series of events. Those receptors are found in a lot of places in the body. And it's not that important exactly which ones. I didn't go into that much detail there. But basically, these receptors, about half of them use niacin, and the other half use other things. So I'm not going to worry about those. They affect receptors in the brain and nervous system mostly. And here's the theory that venoms were used to create the spike protein. And we already know, this is just one example I found from another source. Spider venom has been shown to disrupt those niacinic acetylcholine receptors, causing a lack of function. So what happens is the venom goes in, and you do not get the normal transmission of the nerve from the neuron before the synapse. Basically, you have a neuron, a presynaptic neuron, then you have a synapse, which is a space, an open space, and then you have a postsynaptic neuron. And in that process, little vesicles of neurotransmitters come out from the first one and have to bridge that gap and go to the second one. And what the venom does, it can do different things, but it can either prevent the neurotransmitter from going where it's supposed to go at all. It just doesn't go out. it might go out too fast, or you might not be able to get rid of it soon enough. Because each time you have a synapse, each time you have a nerve going across it, it has to fire and do its job and then stop. So you can have, a lot of different problems. But what happened is you were seeing the effects of venom. That was what people were reading as respiratory dysfunction. They were reading it as a problem with your respiratory system, with breathing. But what venoms do is they stop nerve transmission and they stop muscle contraction. And so the theory here is that the diaphragm is a muscle that has to open, and basically that muscle has to open up the chest cavity so the lungs will inflate. The lungs are not muscular. They're just tiny little air sacs, and they don't inflate unless the muscles of the diaphragm in the chest open up. And so basically what happened is venoms, and we know snake venom, we know exactly what to do with all different kinds of snakes. We have to have an anti-venom. So this is what is happening, is that those venoms were causing symptoms of these diseases that were, labeled viral lately. And because of that, treatments were incorrect. Okay. And then this has been going on for 6 years. So it's been a long time. And some people, again, they looked at nicotine, called them nicotinic receptors, and thought, well, what if nicotine would work? So what they did is they started experimenting with nicotine, and it seems that has helped. So what it's looking like is those receptors have the highest affinity for the spike protein. But then if nicotine comes in and binds, then there's no place for the spike to bind. And then also, they haven't done experiments on this that I know of, but niacin actually would do that and do it better. And the difference, I'll show you the molecules in a minute. The difference is that if nicotine binds there, it can stop the binding of the spike protein, but it does not give the benefits of niacin, the B vitamin, which are necessary all over the body. So again, there are anecdotal results of nicotine maybe helping with long COVID, things like that. But the point here is it's the wrong substance, and they're very similar. It's the wrong substance. So if you use the niacin instead, you would get the benefits of niacin and not any potential problems with nicotine. And I am going to make a caution here because of this research and because of all the things that have been brought out recently, it looks like, and I did find one reference, maybe two. I think I found two, that said we don't know how much nicotine and niacin can be changed within the body. So it's possible that using nicotine, the body might change it back to niacin. Again, this is a new thing to be studying, so we don't know. But there is also an issue. Nicotine itself, when we look at nicotine, and here, we're going to another topic here, but when we look at nicotine itself, it is found in tobacco. It's also found in a lot of other vegetables, like celery and tomatoes and things like that, in small amounts. And so another new theory that we all need to consider is that it's not the nicotine in the tobacco, it was all the chemicals. And I did go through and look at some tobacco literature, and it sounds like there may have been 400 different chemicals in cigarettes. There's a whole history of cigarettes and, them pretending they were useful, pretending they were good, and then we find out they cause all kinds of bad things, which is pretty simple to look that up. Okay, so we're in the rabbit hole. Okay, so this book was, I think it's 2026. But these three people, unfortunately, have all passed away. Dr. Hoffer was the original person studying niacin for psychiatric issues. And this is a huge thing because a lot of this was just it was just not accepted. And yet we've recently found that the drugs they've used for psychiatric problems, for children, for, adults, all kinds of psychiatric issues, the drugs they've used for them, they're now finding don't work and never did work. And yet there's this huge body of research of the benefits of niacin for psychiatric issues. And so all this is starting to come out. But this book, Dr. Saul is a PhD, and he taught nutrition. And I've followed him. I've got everything that he put out over years. He's written probably 15 books at least, all relating to vitamins. There was a movie called That Vitamin Movie, and you can purchase it. I hope you can still purchase his stuff online, because he just passed away recently. And then there's another book called oh, I'm gonna forget now. It was all, he and his people go back to the orthomolecular medicine group, which goes back to Linus Pauling. So you can find that kind of stuff there. But Dr. Saul, again, lots of books, teaching. And I remember in one of the movies, it might have been That Vitamin Movie, I think it was, he visited a penitentiary and he convinced them to give a basic vitamin mineral supplement to the people there. And he said it was amazing how much better the people got along, how good they were mentally compared to what they had been before. And logically, doing a much better vitamin nutrition program would, in my opinion, certainly, and everything I say on this program is my opinion, obviously, would be so much better for people who are incarcerated and people who have mental illness. So hopefully we're going to, go past this corner and start realizing that there is help out there. The other two were actual, Dr. Hoffer and Dr. Foster were researchers that did decades of research. And Dr. Saul was the editor of the Orthomolecular News for years. And he just helped bring all this stuff together so we would get this information. So this book's amazing. I did this so that if you can, stop it and go back and look. He covers so many amazing topics here. This is the contents of the book. And you can see that he talks about, I've got the book in front of me here, so I can see it better. I can't read it on the screen. Hopefully. Okay. So a couple of the main things, just to point something out. Niacin therapy, how to take it, its safety, arthritis, children's learning and behavioral disorders, mental illness, cardiovascular disease. And here's a list, mostly on that second page there, but aging, allergies, alcoholism, and this is huge. Niacin is big because alcoholics need niacin, and niacin helps alcoholics. Alzheimer's disease, and then we have anxiety, cancer, cataracts, cholera, diarrhea, detoxification, erectile dysfunction, fatigue, Hartneff's disease, Huntington's disease, migraine headaches, multiple sclerosis, nephritis, which is problems, inflammation in the kidney, obesity, Parkinson's, post-traumatic stress disorder, just unbelievable, trigeminal neuralgia. And Becca, you probably know what that is, since you authored a book about it. Okay. And then he talks about COVID for niacin. or I'm sorry, niacin for COVID. And then he's got appendices that are the writings of a bunch of different people that were in other books. So amazing book. I hope it doesn't go out of publication. I really hope it doesn't, but we'll have to see. His daughter also wrote a bunch of books with him, and she's hopefully carrying on. So, you know, fingers crossed on that. Okay, I have to show you these molecules, and hopefully you can see I drew the ones rather than, it's amazing. You can't find information about nicotine or niacin together, and because you have to go looking through the tobacco stuff, and they don't do hardly anything with diagrams. But for the nutritionists, they don't even talk about nicotine. You have to go looking for it. But anyway, pretty simple. Okay, these are carbon. This is a carbon ring with a niacin at the bottom. And niacin molecule, it's just got a C with an O, OH. That's called a COOH group. It's pretty common. Nicotinic acid, all it is you have a CONH2 instead of the COOH. That's the only difference in those two molecules. Okay, and they have the same function. So wherever something attaches to the molecule, it's got to be within, I don't know, you're not seeing my pointer, which that thing takes a nap a lot. There it is. So this part is what's different right here. But then when you see nicotine, this ring is identical. These three are identical. But the nicotine has this whole other part. So if this part is attaching to the receptor, all three of them can attach to those acetylcholine receptors. But when this extra part from the nicotine is also there, you're losing the function of this being able to attach and do other things. So this is basically the structural component. Okay, from here on is just talking about the discovery, B vitamins, some of the things I've covered in other talks. But I would like to see if people have questions now about this. And I think that might be the best thing is to do that. And I can go back and do that. And then if people want, we can go on and do more. We'll see how our time is here.
No, Dr. Judy, I have the first question.
Okay.
You had mentioned a virus and niacin being beneficial for that virus. Would it be beneficial for other viruses as well?
That is a great question. And the reason this particular virus was brought up was because of what they call that spike protein. It's a specific part of that virus. Whether or not it does all viruses, I know vitamin C does. I know that vitamin D, when this whole thing started happening, there was an article that came out that I sent around to all my friends and everybody from Orthomolecular News, and it showed that if you had enough vitamin D, you did not get that virus, period. You didn't get it. So my thought is chances are, yes. Again, you got to have all 90. They all have to work together. The most important ones that we have to have every day are the B vitamins and vitamin C. And, it's hard to separate what works and what doesn't work, but we got to have all the essentials. And then the ones we are more likely to run out of when we're sick, because we can't make them ourselves, are these B vitamins and vitamin C.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much. As somebody had seen today's title and said, hey, I'm not going to be able to be there, but I'm curious to know if it's beneficial for more than just the C virus. Anyways.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions? If do, please raise your hand and we will unmute you. And Marilyn, I see that hand. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay. Why do they say that the two receptors for nicotine and niacin are separate? And they give them a different name. Like they say, niacin is G protein coupled receptors, and they say HCAR2 and GPR109, and they affect your metabolite or your cholesterol levels. But then they say nicotine affects ligand-gated ion channels. So can you explain that? I mean,
Okay, so what's your source?
this is from a PubMed article, December 2004, and it's titled Nicotine Acetylcholine Receptors and Neuropsychiatric Disorders.
Okay, so I would have to see the study, but there are no nicotine receptors. They're
Mhm.
niacin. So when they're saying nicotine, it's just that's what it was labeled. Okay, and everybody doesn't know that. The majority of medical people don't know that. So, that's the only thing that makes sense. There are either those that they call nicotine that are niacin, and then there's other receptors that don't use that. They do something else in the acetylcholine receptors. And there are a lot of other receptors. Okay. So to me, it's a situation where the terminology is everywhere. It's totally pervasive everywhere. And until people start understanding that is a misleading name, it's not going to change. Okay.
Hard to understand. Sounds good.
Well, I'm just saying, there are no receptors for nicotine. However, like I just showed you, those receptors bind to a certain part of a molecule, and niacin, nicotinic acid, and nicotine all have they have part of the molecule together. But does it say in that research that they used nicotine to create the receptor or to work with the receptor, or are they just calling it nicotine something?
They're actually
See what
saying
I'm saying?
nicotine. They're saying nicotine acetylcholine
Yeah, okay, but that
receptors, and then
again,
they say
that's the
niacin.
name of the receptor.
They
You
are
see what I'm
just
saying?
saying that at the bottom of the article, it says the word nicotinic is used simply because the chemical was originally named based on its molecular resemblance to tobacco derivatives, even though its biological role as a vitamin B3 is entirely unrelated to nicotine. But they say at the bottom of the article.
Okay, so they said what I just said. They said what I just said. They had named it nicotine, even though it's niacin. So that's good. That's good. If it's if it's in PubMed like that, that's good. That's what we want. We want people to understand it. Okay.
All right.
Thanks for the question.
All right. Thank you, Marilyn. And Keely, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hey, Dr. Judy. Nice to see
Hey.
you today.
Thank you. You too.
I really appreciate you taking this subject on because it has been so outmarketed, and I hate to use this word, but it's been bastardized, that people do not clearly understand the difference in between these receptors and the labels that people in the medical field actually give to these names. And if we take a look at pharmaceuticals, if we take a look at a lot of what's out there in reference to the allopathic medical system, we will understand that virtually everything is mislabeled. And it doesn't go back to the science that really drives the comprehension and understanding. So I just want to tell you, I appreciate you taking that on.
Thank you. What that leads back to is if you go back and look way back in your medical history, it is believed that they used Latin for all the terms so that people couldn't understand them, and they had to go to a doctor or somebody. In other words, the elite had control of the information. You had to learn a different language in order to understand it. Again, one of my pet peeves. I took
Understood.
Latin in high school on purpose because I was planning to be a veterinarian, which, that didn't happen, but I ended up doing what I'm doing now, and I needed just as much Latin for this. So all the terminology, all the classifications, again, there's an issue of you can name things whatever you want to name them. But then when you look at the Linnaeus classification system, where we take each, if we discover a new type of frog or whatever it is, we will name it and fit it into that classification system. And it's all Latin. It's all based on Latin. And I don't know how long Latin's been a dead language, but I can tell you it's been a long time. So, you know, another thing we should kind of start working towards is, you know, maybe we should start renaming some of this stuff when it makes sense. And that's a little bit of a separate issue from the niacin nicotine thing. But it just, I mean, like,
it's part of how, what I hear you saying is it's part of how the deception, the collusion happens on labels, and it becomes a deception and not providing the absolute accurate understanding of what somebody's trying to say, because people will go out and also do the research on, you know, Dr. Google, so to speak, but they can't vet the information because they really don't know the science and biology in order to affirm it. And that's what I find dangerous with just going out and doing AI searches and then thinking that
Right.
you're confident in what you're speaking about. So again, thank you for taking it on. And it's all over all the labels in the medical system, and people just
Right.
have to be able to
Oh.
take the deep dive to comprehend it differently.
Yeah, and you'll notice pharmacist Ben he tells you the word and then he tells you where it came from. That's
Right.
an amazing teaching method. I love that he does that. I try to do that myself, so that things make more sense. You know, if you can do that, it's from the Latin for this or that or that. But anyway,
Thank you, dear.
the good news is that when I went to school, if you went into the medical field, you didn't have to do another language, because medicine is, it really is. I took some Spanish. I had to take a little bit of Spanish as an undergrad. So I did. But I mean, I also found out that people who are good at the medical stuff like I am are not that great at language. So, I mean, I can read and understand the words and everything, but I wouldn't be able to speak a language because it's kind of like two different parts of your brain, apparently. So for whatever that's worth.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Keely. And Rod is wanting to know, how about for blood pressure? Would niacin be good for blood pressure?
I've been reading through all kinds of things they can do with niacin, and yes, it does help with blood pressure. It helps lower cholesterol, but again, is that what we really want? You know, the cholesterol issue is again, it's one of those things where there was a major deception and everybody thought cholesterol was bad, and now we know that was wrong. And
Mhm.
so the best way to lower cholesterol is don't eat sugar. Don't eat sugar and starch and all the, you know, stuff that tastes
Bottled
good.
oils, fried foods.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I
one
mean,
thing before we go, can you go over that list of the different health conditions that the B3 niacin was beneficial for?
okay, sure.
Because there's a lot on there that people don't normally associate with B3.
All right, let's see if I can get back there. I should be able to. Oh, I know. I mean, and again, I got to read it off the book.
Yep.
It's worse than it was before. I got to get these curtains changed. We all just, okay. I mean, these are the chapters in the book. So each chapter they've talked about, I mean, this is serious. This is 50, 60, 80 years of people studying this stuff. Okay. You want the list? Okay, aging. Niacin helps the body prevent genetic damage from whatever source. Oxidative stress. Oh, Jesus, just, I'm not
Don't worry
even,
about it. Don't worry
I'm
about
just
it. We
not
can
even
say it
put
well
them on.
enough.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, arthritis, children's learning and behavioral disorders, literally all the ADHD, all those kinds of things have been helped with niacin. Alcoholism is huge. Any addictions, Alzheimer's, oh, that's kind of a big one. Anxiety, again, that's part of the mental stuff. Cancer, cataracts, cholera, diarrhea, detoxification, erectile dysfunction. Let's see, fatigue, Hartnupp's disease, Huntington's disease, migraine headaches. Niacin is involved in 450 or 500 different chemical reactions. Millions of reactions all the time. And if it's not there, you know, if you're not getting what you need to do the job. So all these things, like Dr. Wallach has always talked about, they can be from the bones in your skull, crushing nerves and having all these happen, and or deficiencies of these other nutrients. Multiple sclerosis, nephritis, those blood vessels going to your kidneys. Obesity, well, again, all of the carbohydrates, fats, protein, everything that you're trying to break down that you eat, the B vitamins process it, and niacin is involved in almost all those reactions. I did listen to a couple of really interesting talks at the Equine Science Society that I'm going to pull up and give you guys some highlights of, because I had to struggle to keep up with a lady that was talking about mitochondrial dysfunction. She was about to retire, but she's been at Texas A&M for a long time. I had not even met her, but that's where I went to school also. But she had a joint appointment between kinesiology, human kinesiology, and animal science. And she is interested in mitochondria. So very interesting, the coupling of the electron transport system. And I mean, wow, there were several of the talks. And then my friend, Brian Nielsen, who I worked with on my project at Texas A&M on bone, where we did the racehorses, and he just did his lifetime of research he did, starting with the one he and I did together at Texas A&M. And then he went on, and he's been almost 30 years at Michigan State after he left Texas A&M, and following along on the different bone things he's done. So again, I did a talk on bone, and now I can expand it to the things, because he's been researching it this whole time. Well, I've been creating horse feeds and stuff like that. So anyway, it's just always fun for me to find new stuff. But post-traumatic stress disorder, Raynaud's disease, skin conditions, trigeminal neuralgia, and then they have the whole thing about COVID. Yeah, these others, the index, I don't know. If people are really interested in this book is a gold mine, and I'm afraid that, you know, they might not, if people don't buy it, they might not be.
Will you hold that up? I want them to not just see the cover, but to see how much research you really do into something.
Oh, yeah.
All
Here's what
of those
happened.
notes.
I look it up and I put a little marker on there where I looked it up, and pretty soon it's useless because everything's marked. It doesn't matter anymore. But
It's not useless.
I've been watching, or I've been following a person who is doing what he calls an analog system. And there's a couple of really good reasons for that. But what he says is we need to write. When we read, we need to write our thoughts. And you can't use a computer. And I just found a study about children saying they check chemicals in the brain. And when a child writes, you have to very carefully write. And all these things in the brain are lighting up as the child writes. But when you put them on a keyboard, nothing. because each keystroke is the same. And so when they stopped teaching kids to write and they started putting them on keyboards, they're losing all kinds of potential brain function. And it's the same concept, this analog. So you set your system up, you read your books, you have your resources stuff. But when I read, I put little Post-it notes or I write in the margins, I'll go no or something, but you write all that up. Those are your legitimate thoughts. If you put them on a computer, it doesn't come out the same, right? So what that means is keeping all your stuff, actually writing your thoughts, and you're getting your input, your human brain, how you've analyzed everything, your input. And it's completely separate. And he says it's just if people keep putting everything into computers, we're going to lose all of that. It's the same thing with a digital book. I'll read them if I have to, but I got to have some place to write about it, to what I'm going to do with it. So anyway, that was a bit of a diversion, but huge things for kids that have recently, well, we know kids that can't see the mother's face, kids that can't touch people, kids that are afraid of the air, kids are, all these things are big. So
Yeah. Wow. I think that could be a whole nother show, Dr. Judy.
well, I think an update on kids needs to come. And I also I did a huge, like a 6-day conference on mental health. And I haven't had a chance to summarize most of that and talk about it either. So there's so much. It's just a question of what's more important. What I wanted to do, what I was originally going to do today was the epigenetics one about my research, because it's a mystery. It's like things were happening. These horses had this thing happening to them for years and nobody knew what was happening. Well, then when they developed the genetic tests, right at that time, they started developing the genetic tests. So they knew what it was. And it happened right when I was looking for a project. So it's really a mystery. And I will do that. So it's an epigenetic mystery, really. But the fun thing about it is, when that happens, and I happened to be at a place where we had horses that had it and didn't have it. And we could do it. Otherwise, I couldn't have done it. But it ended up being like the only and the main research on how to feed those horses for the whole world. And I had to laugh because when Brian was talking the other day, he was talking about, well, we just do one little step at a time in the bone thing. He was talking about, does being in a stall affect a horse's bone development? And people didn't think it did. Guess what? It does. And he made this comment, well, we can only do one step at a time. But I was thinking, except in my case, where I happened to be able to totally figure it out, how to feed them. There wasn't a whole lot more you had to figure out. So I was like, just lucky, so lucky to end up in that thing. But I think it's more fun to look at it like, like a mystery that you're trying to solve. So that's what we're doing, all of us people. When someone comes to us with problems and symptoms and issues. And that's what Dr. Wallach did. And that's what we're all doing is, well, what can we do for that person? So that's why we need to know about them. We need to know a certain amount about them or the animal or whatever. So.
And it's not one size fits all.
No,
so
absolutely.
Because especially when the environment around them can be totally different.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Judy, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing about niacin and how even nicotinamide or nicotinic acid is niacin.
Yeah. If you think about it, and of course, like I said, I think niacin has gotten a bum rap the whole time. That's what's going to come out happening. It's not the niacin in the tobacco. It's the chemicals they put in that made everybody sick. That's a whole nother, deal. But do you remember when the whole first thing came out and they figured all the smokers were going to have a really bad outcome because it was a lung problem and they were smokers, and the opposite happened.
Yeah.
So even though all the chemicals were there, probably that nicotine was being changed. It was either blocking the problem, blocking the venom, or it was being changed to niacin. But they were not the ones that got really sick. So that's kind of a clue. Something was weird too. So
Yeah. Definitely something weird. Well, thank you for coming on. And I know that you are a huge Dr. Wallach follower. And today is his birthday.
oh, happy birthday, Dr. Wallach.
87. All right, 87.
87. Yeah.
87 years old today. So huge shout out to Dr. Joel Wallach and
Happy birthday,
happy
Doc.
birthday. We miss having you on the show, but I know that you're enjoying retirement and getting to know your family, spending more time with them. So if I could get our co-hosts up on the screen with us, that would be absolutely fantastic, because I'm so thankful that I do not have to do the show all by myself with my guest. They're keeping an eye on other things, including the technical side of it and the ongoing part and transcription. Come on, Marilyn. There you are. All right. Well, today we have with us Sherry, who's part of the tech crew. Sherry and Mary and Ruth Ellen, each part of the tech crew, who are here with us today. So thankful for each of them as they are keeping an eye on the stream, making sure that there's audio. If there's questions, they're bringing those questions in. Coach Rod is helping to bring in some questions as well. And Ruth Ellen being my executive production manager, and also taking the Zoom, putting the graphics with it, pushing it out. So that is what you are seeing if you're out on Zoom or Rumble or X or Instagram or or Facebook, any of the different platforms. Make sure that you are subscribed, like us, and most importantly, share us with people that you know and love. And then we also have Albert joining us from far, far, far away in South Africa. Thank you so much, Albert, as he is our gatekeeper. And I see that we do have one more hand up. Let's see if we can get a question real quick. And is it Ian? Ian, are you able to unmute?
Can you just remind me, if you if you go on YouTube, another live session, can you send me the Zoom meeting link?
The Zoom meeting link is exactly how you got here. I'm sorry? Yeah, so if you're here in the Zoom, then you've got the Zoom link.
Like, if you have another like a Zoom meeting about this, because I was interested, I was planning on YouTube about this, so it was my advertisement. Can you send me another Zoom meeting link? This is very suitable for me to join. I like that.
So we are here Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 12 to 1 p.m. Pacific, 1 to 2 Mountain, 2 to 3 Central. Not quite sure where you're located, but I think I got that wrong. 12 to 1 Pacific, or yeah, 1 to 2 Mountain, 2 to 3 Central, 3 to 4 Eastern time. And we do have a new guest each and every day. So make sure that you go to DailywithDoc.com, sign up for our email list so that you get a notification of who we have on with us that day. And you can also, if you're subscribed to one of the channels that we go live on, when we're starting to go live, you will get notification that we are live, and you can watch us either live or after the fact on any of the different platforms. Just do a search for Daily with Doc and Becca, and it will come up with all of the different areas or platforms that we do broadcast on. So even the ones we're not live on, there's many, many others that we load everything up to so that people can watch it at their leisure and watch it or listen to it once or many times. So thank you again, everybody, for being here with us. Thank you for our live audience and our questions that came in from the live audience. And again, Dr. Judy Reynolds, you are just such a wealth of information. And thank you for that tidbit on writing, because I totally understand how when I write something, I remember it so much better than when I type it. That's
Yes.
hands down.
Mhm.
Hands down, where it's easier to find when I type it, but it's not easier to remember. So
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Once
Thank
again,
you.
my name is Becca Dukes, as a certified naturopathic practitioner, a certified holistic health coach, and the director of student services for the Institute of Holistic Health. It is my honor and privilege to provide this resource of learning to you and the world. If you'd like more information about becoming a certified holistic health coach, go to coach.DailywithDoc.com. Again, that's coach.DailywithDoc.com. But if you are referred to this program by somebody specific, get back with them, ask if they're a certified holistic health coach and how they can join you in the coaching program as well. If you have questions that you're not already working with somebody and you want to speak with a certified holistic health coach, call 855-949-3377. Again, 855-949-3377. Well, for tomorrow we have pharmacist Ben Fuchs. Can somebody please stop the chat? Join us. We'll talk to you later. Bye for now. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to continue to share the teachings of a founding father of the science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach, Bachelor of Science in Plant and Soil Sciences, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, 4 postdoctorates in pathology, naturopathic doctor. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to continue to share the teachings of a founding father of the science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach, Bachelor of Science in Plant and Soil Sciences, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, 4 postdoctorates in pathology, naturopathic doctor. is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to continue to share the teachings of a founding father of the science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach, Bachelor of Science in Plant and Soil Sciences, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, 4 postdoctorates in pathology, naturopathic doctor. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to continue to share the teachings of a founding father of the science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach, Bachelor of Science in Plant and Soil Sciences, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, 4 postdoctorates in pathology, naturopathic doctor. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to continue to share the teachings of a founding father of the science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach, Bachelor of Science in Plant and Soil Sciences, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, 4 postdoctorates in pathology, naturopathic doctor. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to continue to share the teachings of a founding father of the science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach, Bachelor of Science in Plant and Soil Sciences, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, 4 postdoctorates in pathology, naturopathic doctor. program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place